welcome to Two Girls, Five Gays Bisexual Edition, brought to you by PrideWestern. Just a little disclaimer before we start, we are going to be discussing sexual material, stuff like that. So if you're uncomfortable with anything like that, just be aware. We're also taking donations for the food support service. We have a table at the back of the room. If you have cash donations or food donations, drop them off. Steff is going to be our audience facilitator. If you have questions for our panelists, raise your hand. She'll bring you the microphone. You can also tweet at PrideWestern. So let's get started. My name's Hayley. I'm going to be your onstage facilitator. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat.
I'm Ben.
I'm Elizabeth.
I'm Blake.
I'm Regine.
Okay, let's get started. So let's start with an easy question. Let's talk about coming out first. Do you guys think it's better to wait until you get to university to come out, or to come out earlier, high school, elementary school?
Well, I didn't really know until I was in university. I pretty much denied it, kept it all under lock and key until I got to university and I was exposed to a larger culture than the town that I grew up in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends on the person. For me, like, I was pretty late, definitely, like, even the later part of university. But, I mean, I definitely people who have, like, the self-awareness and the bravery to do it in high school, especially as a high school teacher. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. It really depends on the environment that you're in. In high school, I was very sure, and I've been very sure since I was a little kid, but it wasn't necessarily comfortable for me. And university, it was definitely, a point where a lot of my friends were coming out, and so I just took that over.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say university is a lot easier, especially if you went to a Catholic high school. You're not going to get a lot of acceptance there doing that.
It was pretty much the same situation for me. I came out in university. I didn't really realize until I kissed the first girl. I was like, okay, I know now. That's pretty much it.
I'm going to second the Catholic high school situation. Not the best environment for coming out. Can any of you guys describe the reaction of the first person you came out to? Anybody? Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I came out to my friends first. Most of them were, like, already out and gay already. So, I mean, I think they kind of knew it was coming. It wasn't really a surprise to anyone, but, yeah.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I kissed other girls in front of a lot of my university friends, so I think they figured it out.
I think people were like, what? That was the reaction that I got, at least the first time. It's like, are you confused? That was...
Yeah, I got something similar. It was a lot of what, but then it was just, okay, that's cool. And it was left alone after that.
Yeah, so I guess after I kissed the first girl I kissed, I was like, okay, I think I'm gay. And she's like, yeah, you think? And then I guess we started going out, and then our friends just clued in, and it was pretty easy going after that.
I think the person who had the weirdest reaction to myself coming out was me. Like, all my other friends were just like, oh, okay. And I was the one who was like, what is this? I don't understand. Was your first sexual experience, so even just like making out, whatever, with someone of the same sex or somebody of the opposite sex?
Opposite sex. Opposite sex.
Opposite sex.
Opposite.
Same. Opposite.
Let's see here. Have you been in a relationship with somebody of the same sex, or more of just hooking up? Like, do you lean more in one direction than the other?
Right now,
Yes.
more in one direction.
Yeah, I'm more of a relationship person in one direction, yeah, for sure.
I've definitely had relationships sort of with both, but a lot of my same-sex relationships were in high school when things were kind of rocky and everybody was confused and wasn't sure. So right now it's...
I've only had heterosexual relationships, but had hookups both ways.
I would say I lean more towards one right now.
When you guys are in a relationship with somebody of the opposite sex, do you let people around you who don't necessarily know that you're bisexual, do you let them just assume that you're straight? Or if they mention it, do you like correct them?
I just let them assume I'm not gonna bring something into the table that doesn't need to be there, necessarily.
Me too.
It depends on the group of people that I'm with and how comfortable I am with them. But I mean, it's a pretty big deal to me, like who I am as a person. So like, I don't want people to necessarily just assume that I'm heterosexual because I'm with my girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on who I'm with and what the situation is. If I'm going to go on a date with somebody, I'm normally pretty straightforward about it because it is a part of who I am and I don't want them to be surprised by it. I know I've dated people who are really religious and they've kind of dumped me because of it, so I'd rather just get it on the table right away.
Yeah, I would definitely want my partner to know that I was bisexual and not just straight or just gay. I think it's something important for them to know. And as far as if friends ask about it when I was in a heterosexual relationship, I would tell them. I don't feel it's something that I would have to hide. If I'm with someone who's heterosexual, or if I'm with a guy, it means I want to be with a guy. And if I'm with a girl, it's because I want to be with a girl.
Awesome. Do you think there are any big misconceptions that still exist about bisexuality? I know for myself, the big one would be that people who are bi are just gay, but they don't want to admit it. That's one that I hear all the time that's totally a misconception. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot myself.
Yeah, that one, and the other one that really bugs me is that like a bisexual can't be completely sexually satisfied by just one gender, and therefore we can't be in monogamous relationships. That one bugs me a lot.
The other one that bothers me a lot is, oh, you're bisexual, that means threesomes, right? No, it doesn't.
The one I really don't like is, because I'm a girl, I'm doing it for attention.
Steph, do you have a Twitter question for us?
Yes, I do. Our Twitter question. Would you ever have a relationship with a member of the same sex?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on the circumstances. If I met the right guy, absolutely. But I mean, I'm in a very serious relationship with a girl right now, so not right now. But yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm in a relationship right now, so I'm not exactly looking. So I'm good.
Do any of you guys have like a coming out story? I know we talked about the reaction of the first person you came out to, but was there like any particular special circumstances that led to you coming out the first time, or did it just kind of unfold naturally?
I like to think that it felt natural for me, but that the environment around me did not feel it to be as natural as I did. So there was a lot of, I was embarrassed, I think was the biggest thing, and so I told some friends, but they weren't as good friends as I thought they were, and there was a lot of gossip, as well as the first girl I sort of had a relationship with. She was a little bit more comfortable talking about it than I was, so that put me in an awkward position. Definitely dealing with my parents, I don't think I'd say that I'm out yet. I have brought it up, but I maybe mentioned something on Facebook, and my mother woke me up at 4 a.m. and was like, "You've got to take this off, people are going to get the wrong impression, and you're going to ruin your life," sort of thing. And I know that she was trying to protect me and all that, but even though I was only 14 or 15 years old, I did know, and I haven't changed my convictions since then.
Yeah, for me, I guess it took a really long time to come out like to myself because like those feelings for the opposite sex never went away, right? So I think I was able to deny it for a lot longer. But once I came out to my friends, like it started to happen more quickly, and I wanted to tell my sister, of course, especially since my best friend and I kind of had the suspicion that she might be too. And we thought maybe it might be easier for her to talk to me about it if I came out to her first, but she beat me to it.
I actually sat my parents down on my 20th birthday this past April, And at the end of dinner, I was like, so Mom, Dad, I like women. I still like men, but I like women as well. And they didn't speak for about 20 minutes. When they did, my mother rambled on about how it's so hard to grow up in such a society, and there's so many pressures and these things that they never had to deal with. And my dad finally said, well, thank God you're not pregnant.
Are there any people that you think that you're just never, ever, ever gonna want to come out to? Like somebody in your life that it's just not gonna be discussed with?
I mean, yeah, there are certain family members who maybe have a more conservative view. Then, like, I probably couldn't be bothered to tell them. I actually still haven't told my parents, and like, I'm not saying I never will, but it's like I'm not really in the place to do that right now. I don't think.
Yeah, I've definitely got some friends from my old Catholic high school that I would not consider coming out to. Obviously, I know them and they're good friends of them, and they'd probably be accepting, but again, I'm not just going to bring in something without good reason to.
I think that I'd probably refrain from coming out to certain people if I thought it was going to make them uncomfortable. I know that when I had some people that I wanted to know but I didn't want to tell them, I just would take like lesbian comic strips and read them at family reunions until somebody asked me what I was doing. So, I don't know, it's kind of you can ask me, but I'm not going to necessarily come out if I think it's going to make you uncomfortable.
Well, I guess for me, I'm pretty much open in my online life and with Facebook and stuff like that, so whichever family members can see that, then they can figure it out for themselves. But I guess the good part about being in a really traditional family is that they don't really use technology, and another part is that they don't understand English, so that's pretty good.
I don't think I would tell my grandparents necessarily, unless, I don't know, eventually I brought a girl home for Christmas and they'd be like, oops, surprise.
Who's the most recent person you've come out to, if you can remember?
Probably some people in my summer job. I don't remember specifics, but I was in the musical at Alt House last year, and we became pretty close, like the cast, especially like certain people. So there were just a couple guys there that I wanted to tell for sure.
Probably the most recent person I came out to is my frosh, who's currently sitting in the audience right now. She'll go unnamed.
Mine would be my cousin. We spent the day together because we were getting ready to go to my other cousin's wedding, and then she pretty much already knew, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess mine would probably be some people in the marching band who were like, oh, you're doing this, eh? And I was like, yep.
I actually ran into a friend on the way here and told him, and he didn't know.
Twitter question, Steph?
Yes, we do. What are unique challenges you face as bisexual identified persons, as opposed to lesbian, gay, transgender, other people under the queer spectrum? So unique challenges.
I think that the biggest challenge for me has been a lot of people, be they straight or gay or lesbian, telling me that I'm still undecided. And I've had not a lot of support from even, the lesbian and gay community, where you would assume that maybe they'd be a little bit more accepting. I found that I've not had a lot of that support there as well, because people tend to be uncomfortable with the idea that you can like two genders equally. And so people try to pressure you to like pick one. And I don't know, I'm very comfortable being 50-50.
Yeah, one thing for me, I spent a lot of time lonely, I guess, just because I kind of straddle like these two different worlds. I'm like not really one of the hetero guys, let's watch a football game, yeah. But I'm not really, I'm not a gay guy either. So like, and bisexual guys in my experience are pretty rare. Like I haven't met very many, so it can be pretty lonely sometimes.
I think a challenge would come when you're dating someone who is either straight or gay, and their worry would be, what if they
decide that they don't want to be with a girl anymore? When did they flip back?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna agree with Ben. You do kind of feel like the odd man out in the situation. You have two very defined communities where you don't necessarily fit strongly into either.
I guess for me it would be, my parents still think there's a chance that I can be persuaded. I guess they're like, well, you haven't met the right guy yet, or you'll know once you go and meet someone new.
Okay, so touching on what Ben already mentioned, the fact that bisexual men are a little bit rare, why do you think this is? Do you think they're just not willing to admit it, or is there even proportioned and people just aren't coming out? Let's talk about it. Everyone, not just Ben. Let's not start Ben here.
Yeah, my sister and I actually talked about this a little bit today, and there's definitely like a societal pressure for guys. I think even more than girls, like not to like talk about these things or be okay with these things. So maybe there's more out there. They're just not talking about it, I guess.
I'm also agree. I think there's probably an equal amount out there in terms of bisexual guys to girls, but it seems almost more socially acceptable for a girl to be bisexual than a guy.
There's definitely this like pornified image of bisexual girls that I think like it's unfortunate that people have this conception, but it's led to women who are bisexual being more accepted by society as opposed to men who are bisexual. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just a lack of community and a lack of support. It's a lot harder for my friends who are bisexual and male to find other bisexual male people. I think 3 bisexual males, which I feel like is a huge number, and I definitely don't think that that's indicative of what's actually out there.
Okay, so today is National Coming Out Day. This is a Twitter question, by the way. Do you have any advice or words of wisdom for bisexual students still in the closet today?
I would say don't rush it, because I guess you never know when might be a good time or worse if it might be a bad time. So you don't really want to be caught and not really ready about like how to prepare, like what you would say to someone if you were asked, and if they're like, are you really bisexual, and you're not really sure what to say, then you might just like dig yourself into a hole and just feel bad about yourself, and you don't want that.
I'm definitely going to say, even if you don't have any plans to come out, at least have something prepared to say. So if someone asks you, you can give them an answer. You don't have to sit there and stutter and make the situation more awkward than it probably already will be.
I think that if you're confident, don't let anybody tell you that because you identify as bisexual, you're confused or you're not sure. And don't let anybody you might be in a relationship with say, oh, well, because you're dating a girl, that means you're gay, and because you're dating a guy, that means you're straight. Stick to your convictions and don't let people push you around, because you can identify as bisexual and there's nothing to be ashamed of.
I would say try to find other bisexual people who are out about it, and talk to them, because I think we form a really good community with each other when we find each other.
I would suggest having support with you when you tell someone. I told my parents with my sister who knew, and that was really helpful.
An audience question this time, somewhat related.
How do you guys feel about something like National Coming Out Day? Do you feel like it's a pressure on people to come out, or do you think it's a good idea?
I think it feels more like a pressure on coming out. You're just drawing attention to an already very difficult time in someone's life. I don't necessarily think it's the best of days, to say the least.
I think it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it as I'm not out and it's National Coming Out Day and you feel like, oh, it's the day I'm supposed to do it, that's not the way to look at it. But if you look at it as you've already gone through that experience, and you look at it as a day to remember how difficult it is and how other people are also going through that experience, and it's a good way to remember that there are people out there who need help, and if you've gone through it before, then you can help them through that time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and it's a good time to reflect on your own experience with it, and to think about how you're going to keep doing it, because like it is a lifelong process. Like there's always more people to tell, right?
I'm actually going to jump back in and play devil's advocate here. What we could say, it could also be considered maybe a person's coming out story was actually a very traumatic experience for them. Do we really want to draw back attention to it? Say, oh, by the way, remember the day you came out to your parents and they disowned you for it? It's maybe not the best idea again.
Well, I mean, I think our society is really obsessed with recognizing things and having like a day for everything. So, I mean, like if you're actually ready, then by all means go get a rainbow cake and confetti and be like, here I am. But I don't know. There's a plus and a minus to it. I think if you've had the traumatic experience, then maybe this is a good time to just surround yourself with friends. And if you had like a good time, then go party.
No, I definitely agree with both of the arguments. Like, it shouldn't be used as a way to pressure people into coming out, but it should be used as a way of creating a community around helping each other go through that, or like recognizing struggles with coming out.
Yeah, I think definitely it's better to look at it as more of a tool for raising awareness than something that's saying, guess what day it is, you need to come out today, because that's not going to make the experience any better. Another Twitter question?
Oh, another Twitter question. I know we have a couple trivia buffs on the panel right now. So this is a trivia kind of question. Do you know what the colors of the bisexual flag are?
Pink, purple, blue, right?
Yeah. I was like, for sure. Oh, wait. Oh, we have another Twitter question while we're here. If there was a bisexual pride group on campus, similar to PrideWestern, would you join it? Why? Why not? Discuss.
Well, I'm an alumnus, so technically no. But I mean, if it was available, I mean, absolutely I would, because like we as we've already kind of talked about, we have our own unique struggles, and I think it's good to kind of talk through those things with other similar people.
What he said.
I would like to third that.
Fourth.
Okay, but isn't pride like an umbrella term? So like LGBTQ, Q, I, etc., etc. So like, I think it might be like a subgroup of pride, and like if you have a group for bisexuals, well, when are you gonna stop? You're gonna have a group for transsexuals, etc., etc. And like, I guess it would be nice, but, or maybe it's just personally I like things in really organized groups. So, I don't know.
I agree. Like, it would be nice because there are specific struggles to being bisexual as opposed to the wider queer community, but also like there's already so much division within the queer community that it would be nice to bring everyone together as opposed to just separating everybody. Like on that same subject, but a little bit of a lighter note, how do you guys feel about like the queer party bar club scene in London? Do you think it's like very specific to like gay and lesbian identified people, or is it something that you enjoy taking part of?
I just turned 19, so I don't know yet.
I've actually only been to the gay bar here in London once, and it was really chill and it was really friendly, which I liked, and I would assume that there would be like less judgment between people about sexuality, but at the same time I still like going to other bars as well.
Yeah, I would say I had the same experience there too, and I've only been like once or twice, but I had a good time when I was there.
I'm not actually a fan of the club bar scene in general, so I'm gonna render my opinion moot.
Yeah, like I haven't been very much, and I've been to like one gay club in Toronto, and I found that really intimidating. So I kind of like the community here, especially with like drag nights and stuff like that. I find it really like friendly and stuff.
Also, just because you're not at a gay bar doesn't mean you can't meet bisexual or gay people. They're there, trust me.
Audience question?
Another audience question.
Do you think there is pressure in the gay community to dress well?
I think there's pressure to dress well, period. Like, especially with magazines, movies, stuff like that. But I guess, especially for women, gay guys, and like, even straight guys now, or guys in general, GQ, stuff like that, they're always like portraying this image that you should have. So it's kind of hard to escape from.
I don't know. There's definitely a pressure to dress a certain way, maybe. I mean, I hate hearing, oh, you dress like such a girl. You like girls? I'm like, well, no, I just like vintage clothes.
I've had the same experience where people are like, why don't you dress more queer? I'm like, I don't know what that means, I'm sorry.
Actually, yeah, I've had these boots called lesbian boots before. I was like, I don't know what that means. I really don't. They're just really comfortable.
It's like you should go chop some wood or something, I guess.
Okay,
Hayley.
yes, another audience
I have
question?
Okay, so this is a serious question. So for those of you who are predominantly heterosexual relationships, I was just wondering if you ever feel any sort of guilt over the fact of like passing as heterosexual and losing like the visibility of being a queer person. And for those of you who don't have that experience, how would you feel in a situation like that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I would say that most of the time when I'm in a heterosexual relationship, I feel as though I'm not necessarily in a position to give other, bisexual people the support that they need. I feel like when you do advocate for being bisexual and you're in a heterosexual relationship, people kind of question if you really stand for what you believe in or if you're just saying it to get attention.
I'm definitely going to agree. It takes away from the statement of saying you're bisexual, yet you're in a heterosexual relationship. So to anyone on the outside looking in who doesn't know you personally, they simply view you as straight and see nothing, I'm going to say special about it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't help people taking you seriously in that regard. I mean, like that's part of why I'm concerned about like talking to my parents about it, because I think like just because I'm with Melanie, they're not going to take me very seriously about it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the person that you're with, and I choose that special person, right? So.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've only really like come out to myself since being at university, and I've been in a heterosexual relationship. So it's like, on the one hand, you kind of feel like oh, I'm not really allowing this one side of myself to come through, but at the same time, I'm not gonna like dump my partner because I want to go like sleep with girls.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. A lot of how I feel and have felt is that because I'm in a heterosexual relationship, I'm not giving this other part of myself a chance to really be experienced. And it's hard because, I mean, regardless of who you're in a relationship with, that relationship is special. And you shouldn't feel that, I shouldn't feel that kind of guilt, but I know that I do.
Okay, do we have one more Twitter question?
One more Twitter question for now. How do you feel about the representation of bisexuals on TV and in film?
A couple of the movies that I've seen with bisexual women in it, they come into the movie with a girlfriend, and by the end of the movie, they've met the right guy and they're straight, or something like that. That's not how it works. You don't just meet the right guy and suddenly you forget that you also like girls.
Yeah, like, I don't know. They tend to seem to be represented as very out of control. Like, I'm trying to think of Captain Jack Harkness, Torchwood, Doctor Who. He's a little excessive, as well as when 13 on House was represented as bisexual. She was represented as such, but it was in a manner that it seemed to be a negative thing, and that she was out of control, and she wasn't able to handle herself in the normal world, and I don't think that's necessarily a fair representation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most common portrayal is like a very promiscuous person, like sleeping with anyone and everyone, both genders, doesn't matter, and you never really see like the in a committed relationship side of it in the media, I think.
I'm also gonna say it's seems like an unequal representation too when compared to the lesbian or gay community, just because upon hearing that question, I could not think of a single bisexual character at all.
Yeah, I agree with Blake. I couldn't really think of one.
Let's do a little bit of a lighter question. When you guys are like dating, like looking for a partner, even just in terms of people you're attracted to, do you think that you have like a type, older, younger, and does that change depending on whether it's a person who's same sex or opposite sex?
I'd say that generally I'm just attracted to talent, and in the sense that people who are smart and who really commit to a certain thing and try to be the best at it, I find that really attractive regardless of, if they're a guy or a girl. I don't have a sexual preference. I'm not like, oh, I want to date a girl now because I haven't seen boobs in a while. It's not really like, that's not the first thing that I'm looking for.
I think so. Yeah, there we go. I find that it has to do with like personality of the person. Like you could be physically attracted to like a woman, but if she didn't have the right personality or the right chemistry that mixed with yours, I don't think that something would happen. Personality is what matters.
I'm definitely gonna say the characteristics I look for carry across to both genders. It's, if I were to say specifics, tend to go for more. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Well, I mean, I think this is part of the perks of being a bisexual is that you find like attributes of both genders really attractive. So when you're out like at a mall or something, it's like you're window shopping. But like, I mean, if you're talking about like real attraction, then you have to get to know the person because like looks aren't everything. Like absolutely not.
So, seems like the general consensus is more focused on personality, but are there any like physical flaws that would be a deal breaker for you, or is that just like not something that you're worried about? Be honest.
Not really. I mean, obviously, staying in shape is important to me. I'm not expecting like a godlike physique or anything like that. But I guess I would want to see an effort to stay in shape.
But the godlike physique would be preferable.
I would like everything to be there, I guess. Like,
No missing bits.
yeah.
Do you have another Twitter question for us, Steph?
I actually have two that I'm going to combine. So our first one is, have you ever faced discrimination or homophobia on this campus? And the second one, if you have, who are you most likely to look to support for when faced with these issues? Or when you're faced with the discrimination out in like the big not Western bubble, where do you look for support from?
My only really negative encounter with, and it wasn't even a really horrible case of it, was walking home from a bar and I was holding a girl's hand and we got yelled at by some guys who were sitting outside their house. Just things like, hey baby, like, why don't you bring her over here? Like, just stuff like that. And I actually turned to her and we talked about it.
For me, I haven't really faced any like specific like attacks or anything like that. But I guess just like overhearing like ignorant things kind of bothers me for sure. And I'd probably talk to my sister, but that she's kind of like my biggest support, I think.
Yeah, I think that especially when you're in a heterosexual relationship, people assume that they can say things that make you uncomfortable, and they don't know that you're bisexual, so they'll say insensitive things about the gay community or the lesbian community, and you'll feel stuck sort of between worlds because on one hand, you really do identify with that community, but you're not necessarily exactly there. I don't think I've had anybody personally attack me in any way because I scare most people. So I'm thank you, Jen. Yeah. But I know that people have definitely said things behind my back, and when that happens, I've got a really awesome support group of friends like Ben and Regine and people in the audience. So, yeah.
I've never actually experienced any personal discrimination. I found Western's community to be very accepting. I have overheard, obviously, impersonal comments, like just general statements, like the very obvious that that's so gay, but then again, I've never met someone who would say that to someone's face. So there's kind of a disconnect between the two, I've noticed.
Yeah, I agree. Like, personally, I've never experienced any kind of homophobia. I guess it's kind of a luxury that we get because we don't visually look really gay or whatever. Yeah, not to be off topic, but most of mine are kind of like racist instead, so.
Yeah, I was going to mention the same thing about in terms of being bisexual, especially when you're in a heterosexual relationship, there's not the same level of visibility. So I feel like we're not as vulnerable to those kind of attacks from people, but definitely just like overhearing things because people assume you're straight, that's definitely a big one. More lighthearted question, fun one. Most awkward sexual experience. Same sex, opposite sex, doesn't matter. Can you think of one? Most of them? Any specifics?
I'm just really awkward. I don't know. It's just probably the first time that I kissed a girl was the most weird for me, but no, it's just mostly awkward.
This one time.
At band camp.
No. It was the first time my girlfriend and I had sex. She's in the audience. And she was lying on top of me, and she moved in such a way that created like a suction of air between her boobs, and like it made a fart noise, and we just lost it.
Oh my god. That's such a burden.
Things you don't see in movies, that's totally happened to me.
My girlfriend is his sister.
Yeah, I actually have one, I just thought of it, and okay, so my girlfriend was over, and we were staying in a tent in the backyard, under the guise of, she's allergic to the cats, but really it meant that we could be louder than if we were in the house. So it was early in the morning, and we were going at it, and my mom came and let the dog out, but we didn't notice until like she was quite near the tent, and yeah, my mom totally overheard us, and we were like, yeah, that happened.
It wasn't necessary. Okay, the most awkward is a bit of a combo of two. It was probably one of my first, other than actually kissing a girl, but more than kissing a girl, and it happened in a bathroom stall at softball. And I walked out, and a friend of mine was standing in line, and she didn't necessarily know about this, and just her face, like pure shock, like jaw on the floor, like, oh my god, that just happened. And then the other half is I ended up with a hickey, and I went home for the first time in a few weeks, and my mom, who at this time did not know, was like, so where's the hickey from? Couldn't tell her where yet.
I'm probably going to say my most awkward I've had was when I was with my girlfriend a few years ago. We were, well, having sex, I'm just going to say it. And we were just on the couch, and the dog decided to come up and join in by licking her chest. Afterwards, we're like, yeah, we're done. This is not happening.
Well, to follow that one up, What do you classify as cheating? Is like looking at the opposite sex or anyone like cheating, or what do you classify as cheating?
I think it has to be something you and your partner discuss. Like you have to decide that one, you're not going to see or kiss or whatever with anybody else. Like it has to be a discussion that you're exclusive. It can't be something you just assume. And then it has to be something that you also sit down and talk about. Like what is okay and what isn't.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And also, I think it's kind of an internal thing. If you get to the point where you're comparing with someone else and you weigh them against your partner and consciously make the decision that maybe they would be better than what you have, then that's not great. But obviously, acting on that is definitely cheating in my book.
Yeah, I don't know. It really does depend on what you agree with your partner. I know I'm probably more jealous than most people, so it's like emotional cheating or emotional kind of wandering in the relationship is a huge no-no for me.
I've experienced a range of what is defined as cheating, all the way from a simple kiss on the cheek could be defined as cheating, to where this is with one of my exes, where it only counted if it was with the person of the same gender as your partner. That was a weird one.
Yeah, I also agree with the that it has to be talked about beforehand. But I guess personally, I'm not anywhere beyond like if I wouldn't do something in front of you, then that's probably not fair.
Another Twitter question?
We do. Fave celebrity crush.
Jerry Ryan?
Natalie Portman.
Has anyone seen the movie Stick It?
Yes.
Yes.
Missy Peregrine.
Scarlett Johansson?
Darren Chris.
I'm gonna second the Scarlett Johansson. Okay, still on the topic of sex, is safe sex a big priority for you? And do you think that there are any safe sex requirements that are particular to same-sex partners, or do you think it's the same as with opposite-sex partners?
Same across the board, just safe no matter what.
I agree. It depends on the kind of sex you're having too. It's like what body parts are in play and how you're supposed to protect each part, like dental dams, condoms, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it depends, on your own personal beliefs, but myself personally, I think, as safe as you can be.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna agree, safety first.
Okay, let's do, this one. When was the last time that you had a heart-to-heart with an ex-partner? Or have you ever? Or do you just not talk to your exes?
I can't say I really keep in touch with any of my exes now. I had one breakup that wasn't great, and it was very sudden, and I was kind of pretty upset by it. So I sent her a message about a week later, just explaining why that wasn't cool, and obviously I kind of put everything in me into that letter. If that counts as a heart-to-heart, I guess, I don't know, but I guess that would be it for me.
I haven't seriously dated anyone in a few years now, but the last person that I was consistently, we'll call it hooking up with, we're actually friends now, so we talk pretty regularly.
Yeah, I think that most people that I've been in a relationship with, I'm on okay terms with to talk. I wouldn't say that I consider any of them to be extremely close, but we can definitely just have casual conversation, and I don't hold grudges most of the time with my past relationships, so it's really up to them if they want to still communicate with me or not.
I'm gonna say for my exes, it's probably just could hold a civil conversation. Wouldn't say we're friends, but we wouldn't bite each other's throats out if we were in the same room.
I'd say mine was 4 months ago, and then she turned into not my ex and my girlfriend again.
Okay, so we have like a text question here. Do you prefer to be with someone who prefers your sex, or like, so say if your partner's bisexual, do you prefer them to lean more towards like whatever side you're on? So if you're female, do you prefer them more to lean towards the lesbian side, or do you prefer if your partner's a lesbian, or if your partner's gay male?
I think it's the same thing with how I look at like my partners. Like, I wouldn't expect, because I would trust them, they were with me, and that's all that matters, is that I know that they want to be with me.
I guess I'm kind of confused. Do you mean like in terms of like they're just actually more attracted to you, or in terms of like in the community they feel more comfortable with like the lesbian community?
Who they're more sexually attracted to?
Okay. I don't care.
I guess my thing is I wouldn't want to date a straight girl, because I don't want to be like an experiment. And it's kind of like I would want to be with a lesbian, a bisexual girl or guy, or a straight guy. And as for leaning, I guess like lean towards me, I guess. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to be into you, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. As long as I wasn't the experiment, I'd probably be okay with preference either way.
If you're in a heterosexual relationship with a straight partner, have you experienced that your partner is more jealous or uncomfortable than they would be if you were straight because you're bisexual and you have like twice as many options?
I think like throughout the majority of my heterosexual relationships, it's been from, well, you're with me, so just like that's kind of, bottom line, or that's awesome, let's get in on that, and I'm like, no. So it really depends on how the other person is educated about it. With girls, I think I've found if I want to be in a relationship with them, there's a little bit more jealousy, and especially if I'm going to be in a relationship with a girl who identifies as lesbian, sometimes they have problems with the fact that I've had sexual relationships with men before, and I mean, I don't understand that, but I do respect that person's opinion.
I've actually found it almost makes the relationship more fun in a sense, because me and one of my exes, we would compare over which males we actually liked and preferred, and would compare tastes, and it actually made for some fun conversations, especially if anyone's a True Blood fan. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. with Blake on that one. Eric, yes? Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. As for me, like, I only really have the one experience, but my partner has been so supportive, even though she's like only heterosexual. So like I've been so grateful and so lucky, really.
Yeah, my partner's definitely like, my male partner is like super, super straight, but we've definitely had the same experience of like comparing notes about girls, which is fun. Do you have another Twitter question for us?
I have a text question. I actually have a couple text questions here. The first, really lighthearted. Do you know the difference between a sweater and a cardigan? Explain.
No.
One has like buttons, and the other one is you just pull it over your head. I can knit one, I can't knit the other one.
A cardigan is like a jacket, but it's made of a lighter material, so it opens and closes, whereas a sweater, while it does generally open and close, it's meant for like warmth and stuff like that.
Next.
Regine didn't answer.
I was just gonna say I think cardigans can have V-necks and sweaters can't. I don't know.
Okay, do you think it's easier for someone who's in the closet to have their first experience with a gay or bi person? Like, which do you think it's easier with? Or does it matter?
I don't know, I think it's hard for anybody. I don't think that, I mean, it depends on the person, but their sexual preference isn't going to make the experience any easier for you.
I'm gonna agree with that. It's really gonna depend on the person you're with.
Let's do one more. Do you guys think that in terms of the experience of being a member of the queer community, does it get better as you get older, as you mature? Like, do you have any advice for young people who are members of the queer community?
It's gotten a lot easier since coming out. Since telling the first person, it gets easier every time to tell somebody else. And it gets easier to act on that as well, the more you're comfortable with the people in your life knowing.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that too. And I think we're also like starting to get into a situation where like generationally people are becoming more accepting of it, and like as the older generations are kind of gone, like those conservative views kind of go with them. So it's becoming an easier world, I think, that way. I mean, it's like it's never going to be easy, but
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it's always going to be hard. And even if you maybe have more support as you go along, you're going to get more friends and you're going to find yourself in a community. But I don't think you're ever going to reach a point where you can say, you know, I'm bi and everything's okay now, and I will never have a situation where this isn't okay, because you're always going to find yourself in a different kind of awkward place. Generationally, I think that it is getting better and people are more accepting, but I think that in terms of being bisexual, there's not as much information out there as there is about being gay or lesbian. So, or even, you know, trans, it's just one of those things where generationally I know people think you're confused, or they think that you're just, you know, that you're gay, but you don't, you feel social pressure, and I think it's going to take longer for bisexual people to gain acceptance.
I think it's getting better, but it's a very slow process. But I think the biggest step is going to be accepting yourself and then letting other people accept you afterwards.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think like with the internet and stuff like that, information's also so readily available. And like if you're bisexual and like before you tell anyone, you might want to like read as much as you can on the subject, get yourself informed about it.
Do we have any other Twitter questions before we wrap up? Okay, so last question. Let's keep this one a little bit more lighthearted. Do you guys have a line that you use when you come out to people? Like, do you have a script of what you say, or like a joke that you use or anything? Or is it sort of just like, oh, by the way, I like girls? Like,
I drop hints in the conversation. Like this just happened the other day at work, and girls were talking about whether they would have a relationship with someone who was older, and they were talking about how the older man would have to look, and I'd say, well, you know, as long as I would be okay if it was a woman, as long as she didn't talk about her kids to me or something. And one of the girls turned around and was like, what? Excuse me?
I mean, I think there are some similar common threads that always happen in our conversation. But yeah, sometimes I let it happen organically, and sometimes I just kind of drop the bomb. It just kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes if people are taking it the wrong way or start to say, you know, homophobic things, I'm like, you know, look, I'm bisexual, knock it off. But if I'm not, then I'll sort of kind of ease into it.
I really just kind of let it happen. There's no specific line. It's just let the situation play out as it will.
Yeah, I'm kind of preemptive on who I want to come out with, or come out to. And it's like, sometimes I might drop hints, but most of the time I just psych myself out until it's like we're about to say bye. I'm like, okay, I'm bye.
okay, so on that note, thanks everybody for coming out and joining us for 2 Girls, 5 Gays Bisexual Edition. Thanks to our panelists for answering all of our questions. If you have any donations for food support, drop them off in the back, and we will see you next time.